Good evening, distinguished colleagues, esteemed guests, and dear participants. Welcome to Global Reflection series of Enstitü Sosyal. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome Professor Yong Zhao to our program today. Professor Zhao is widely recognized as one of the most influential scholars in the field of education. His work has challenged us to rethink traditional approaches and has opened new pathways toward creativity, innovation, and human-centered learning. Throughout his career, Professor Zhao has consistently reminded us that education is not merely about producing test scores or ranking students, but about nurturing unique talents, empowering characters, and preparing young people for a future that is complex, uncertain, and deeply interconnected. His vision has resonated with educators around the world, inspiring many of us to question the status quo and to search for more just, sustainable, and humanizing forms of education. In today's conversation, we will have the opportunity to hear his insights on the decline of meritocracy and the redefinition of education's purpose, a topic that speaks directly to the challenges we face globally. I believe his perspective will help us not only to better understand these challenges, but also to to imagine new possibilities for the future of learning and society. Professor Zhou, we're truly honored to have you with us, and we look forward to your reflections. I have a couple of questions about your recent articles on meritocracy, but at first, I want to ask a question about your book titled Who is Afraid of Big Bad Dragon? Why China has the best and worst education system in the world. Do you think that Chinese education system could be a good model for the world?
Well, thank you, Ipek. It's such a great honor to have a chance to talk to you and talk with the Institute Social, and thank you for everyone. This is probably around dinner time. I'm so happy that everyone is joining us. And yes, I don't think the Chinese education system is a model for everyone to copy. Actually, I don't think there is any one education system that has got it right. Even the so-called the system in Finland is filled with problems and they have to change. And this is why, EPAC, I talk a lot about, the international test like PISA, like TIMSS, they mislead people to a different kind of education that's outdated, that's old, that does not work for everybody. And I definitely hope Turkey is out of it because there are many countries like Turkey, India, Malaysia. I think pizza is just a bad invention. And China, when I wrote that book a while back, was number one, in Shanghai in terms of pizza scores. And many people have admired not only China, China, Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam. So all the East Asian countries had very good test scores, and people tried to emulate from them, which again is actually a big mistake. China can, or East Asian countries can produce test scores, but is that what we want?
You called it like fatal attraction. In one of your article, you called it fatal attraction or something, mortal attraction.
I don't remember what I called it, but the idea in education, I think, since you're doing research in this, the big important thing is to see what you're actually producing, and so I'm going to send you a link for people to see my most recent articles on AI and education and educational research. There's one article just published. These are all open access. So I only publish in open access journals now. And one is called The Death and Rebirth of Educational Research in the Age of AI. Trying to basically say a lot of times when we talk about educational systems, when we talk about interventions, we are not really focusing on the human quality. And in age of AI, it actually liberates human beings to become more human, creative, compassion. And the other thing is, in this new age, what we need to think a lot about is how individuals matter. Because we, in a traditional way, we always have followed something called meritocracy. Your test score is higher, you get better jobs or better positions. But that is actually a flawed assumption. Think about even in Turkey. If you are born in a nice neighborhood in Istanbul versus a rural area, your chance is different. And if you're born into a family with PhDs, researchers, that's very different than you're born into a working class. So what we need to do is to identify individual strength, unique abilities, a jagged profile of capabilities that you will be good at something, you'll be bad at something. Age of AI actually opens a new society, a new economy, that if we have everyone become more uniquely human, you do not have to compete against each other. You actually work in collaboration with each other. You use your strength, your passion to help others, and others use the same to help you. You build human interdependence.
But at first, I want to ask a question about your meritocracy critics. In your paper, you critique the narrow definition of merit. For many, meritocracy sounds like a fair and just system. How do you define this narrowness, and what are its main drawbacks for individuals and society?
Well, meritocracy in the beginning was actually created as a satire to make fun of the British education system. The British education system claims to be meritocratic. It's used test scores to identify, if you're a good student, you go to grammar school. If you are less good, you go to probably secondary school. If you are less, you go to technical vocational school, right? That's the tri-party system. I bet Turkey practices that, and China everybody practices that. So it was invented as a bad idea. Meritocracy was going to make fun of this. But somehow people love this idea because meritocracy is great. Asian countries has done meritocracy for thousands of years. But the idea, I've tried to understand, like, why do people like it? Well, people don't like it. It's the powerful people who like it. When they're successful, they say, well,
Professor, though, meritocracy is a kind of social Darwinism. It's kind of natural selection, right?
it is, but it is not. It is. So it is being hijacked by the powerful and elite people to say, we select people based on how smart they are and how hard they work. And we know that's not true. If you are, it's like if you're born into a wealthy family, you have better access to education and you have better test scores. You can hire private tutors. You can do a lot more than others. So I think a lot of the elite and the powerful people like to justify to say they've earned it. But actually, their test scores is more of a family inheritance. They inherit it from their family rather than they earned it. So that's something I think in education, if we don't move away from that, you will have a lot of people who will rise. Actually, if you look at America, President Trump's rise is a rebellion against meritocracy because the poor, the disadvantaged, the less wealthy people, they don't have the social positions anymore. So I caution every society has to worry about that. When you have big social gaps, for example, some groups are wealthy, others are not. If that gaps grow, the society is not sustainable. And if you look at in education, education has never been able to close the so-called achievement gap. It cannot be closed if we use the one measure, the so-called merit. So that's why I'm advocating to say we got to measure differently instead of trying to rank and compare people. You look at individuals who have unique abilities to solve unique problems in the new age.
Um, yes, but it's a hard job, I think.
Well, you're in the Institute Social. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can advocate that. If we can, because
Yes.
the reason we don't move away, because the existing powerful, the existing elite group don't want to move away, because that's how they distribute social resources. That's how
Yeah.
they justify. But in the long run, societies cannot go on for that forever. You cannot, because the young, well, actually, look, China is a good example. If you China, over the past 20 or 30 years, the traditional ones are still going to colleges, but suddenly TikTok has created opportunities for those who did not have the traditional resources. So they are doing short videos. They are very successful. They're hosting, different shows. They're marketing. So that has transformed a group of people. So it's possible to change. But and actually, the traditional schools are losing value nowadays, at least in the US.
And you offer another paradigm instead of meritocracy. You called Human Interdependence paradigm,
Yes.
HIP, which
Yeah.
shifts the focus from ranking individuals to helping each person develop and use their unique strengths in service of others. Could you explain how HIP reframes the education to employment pathway and address these concerns?
Well, let's think about employment in the age of AI. Generative AI has been there for only about 3 years, less than 3 years. It has already altered, changed the economy, at least in the United States. Recent college graduates are having a very difficult time finding jobs, very difficult time. Even computer science people, if you may study computer science in college, you think you do computer programming, AI does better. So all the entry level jobs are being shifted to AI. Then you think about other jobs, even physical jobs, driving. In the driving, drivers may not be needed in 5 or 10 years. Think about speed delivery, right? How much delivery now we are using drones, we are using, and these are just happening. I think in about 5, 10 years, almost all jobs will be reshaped. So what we will need is not what you prepare people to do from a school. I think in the future, we will have many, many different kind of jobs, but each job will not hire like millions of people. Each job will hire a few people. So in the future is the economy of the individual. And for individuals to do well, you have to become great, not good. Because traditional schools prepare people to be good. But in order for you to become great, what you need, you need to know what you are actually good at. And that's very important. You need to know. And because people are born with different talents, different abilities, this is why sometimes I think growth mindset is a stupid idea. You need to give up, not to just keep doing the same thing. You need to find your unique niche. So you want to do that.
Mm.
If you have a unique niche and you have interest, and the most important, if you're good at something and you're interested in that, and then you need to find what does that do for you. So you need to create value for others. And when you create value for others by solving problems for others, then you become interdependent. But however, our schools don't teach people about what you're interested in, what you're good at, and schools never teach people to find problems. Finding problems probably is one of the most important things in the age of AI. You need to find problems and solve them. You need to find significant problems. You need to find problems that's meaningful and relevant. You need to find problems that you can solve. We just run a summer camp in China, in Beijing. We had students from Australia, from China, different cities, 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And we asked them to explore personalization, finding solving problems using AI, and build human interdependence. And the theme is called What's Worth Learning in the Age of AI. So the whole human interdependence paradigm, HIP, is about individuals become great in what they do, and then they help other people to solve their problems, use their greatness, and then they allow others come back to help them with their greatness. So our weakness is opportunity for others, and our strength is resource for others.
Mhm. So, Professor Zhao, how can you define the role of teachers in this paradigm?
I think this is Ipak. That's a beautiful question. The big change is this: teachers have traditionally been the instructional machine for decades, right? Their job is to teach math, teach science, teach language, and they have to be content expert, and they have to be the delivery expert. If you look at your teacher professional development, most of the time we're teaching them to how to instruct better, how to manage the students better. I think in the age of AI, teachers don't need to teach. They need to be the human educator. They need to educate. But I don't think many schools are doing that. We need to change teachers' role from instructing to educating, to social emotional support, to organizing student activities, to facilitate students, identifying their strength and finding problems. So teachers should become more human educators. And with AI and other technologies can do the instruction. Again, this summer, I was talking about the Beijing summer camp. We did not hire teachers. Teachers were there as learners, but we hired graduate students as mentors for this camp. And that's more beautiful because we used to run summer camps with teachers. That's too much. Actually, we want this to be a new model. So teachers need to change their role, but it's very difficult to change because you were hired, you were trained to be an instructional machine, not a human educator.
Do you think that teacher training institutions, like universities, faculties, education faculties, are ready for this?
I
The
don't think
mindset of these faculties,
it doesn't really matter if you are ready or not, because you cannot be ready for something that just coming up. I don't think we are ready. I don't think schools are ready. But drastic changes force people to do this. I have some simple example. When I was growing up in China in the 1960s, 1970s, even 1980s, we did not expect China to be so urbanized. Now, suddenly, look at China. Over the last 30 years,
Mhm.
drastic change. No matter what you do, you've never seen an elevator. Now, suddenly, you're installing an elevator in the city because you had to move. You abandon your village, you go to the city. People did not see so many highways, roads, modern cars. Now they're doing that. They never expected they would be delivering food using, GPS. But that happened. So people have to be forced to do that. In the US, for example, I remember 1992, 93, I was playing with the internet. I was doing the web, but I never thought at that time the internet would be so powerful. You look at today, societies have changed. 30 years. That's so I don't think we cannot wait for someone to say you are ready, you're not. So what I would say, if you are early adopter, if you are early adopter, if you are the lead in change making, you benefit more. You want to influence others. We cannot wait for everyone. I mean, the internet can be horrible for old people. Like in China, if you're over 80, some people over 70, they have very difficult time ordering food, getting money, riding the buses, getting on trains. It's become very difficult. It's not all good. It is basically any technology will treat people differently depending on your attitude. So faculty of education, teachers, professors, if we are in the lead, if we want to change, we want to be the driver of the change instead of trying to wait for everybody.
I got it. By the way, you mentioned, a summer camp in Beijing.
Yeah.
Can you give some more details about this camp?
Yeah, I would love to have some Turkish children if you want next year. So what we did, we've been running summer camps, cross-cultural summer camps, following the idea of personalization, problem finding, and human interdependence for 8 years. And ever since AI came up, we used the AI to do it. So this is our third year using our own AI. It's called YEE AI. So we have an organization called YEE, which is so basically its idea is called Why Enjoy Everything. YEE. Why enjoy everything? Or it could be why entrepreneur education, and or could be why each and everyone. So we have a tool, and we're still developing. We'll release this YEE AI maybe in January formally. We're releasing part of it next month with the smart cities. Yeah, but we have 7 different countries, educators coming to Shanghai, and we're trying to explore AI and education. But anyway, in Beijing, we had children from Hong Kong, Shanghai, Chongqing, and then Australia, So children speak different languages. They use AI to work together. They live in student dorms. And when we hired about 30 graduate students to be mentors, then we had teachers to visit and learn how to do it. And we had really basically 3 steps in about 7.5 days. The first part is to use AI to explore what are you good at? What are you interested in? The second part is, okay, how are you going to use your interest and strength to solve problems for others? And you identify the problem. And the third part is to develop prototypes to solve your problem. The students came up with amazing ideas. And then we actually had a show last week with the students from Australia and teachers that reflected on this. And actually, let me give the link to it. It's called Silver Lining for Learning. And our show, it's here. You can watch it. It's with me and Professor Chris Didi from Harvard, Punya Mishra from Arizona State University, and Kurt Bunk from Indiana University, as well as Lydia Zhao from University of Toronto. So I'm going to keep the link. You guys can watch that. It's called What's Worth Learning. So that's the students and teacher reflection. And there's a lot of things they've learned at the summer camp. And we might run that next year. But if you want, actually, anyone here who wants to do it, contact me. We may be able to collaborate because I want this idea to spread in different places.
Can adults join it?
Yeah. We had adults come to visit. We had
Really?
school principals,
Wow.
school superintendents, and they come to visit and they chat with students. They look. So the idea is we want to create a new paradigm of education, and we noticed that it's possible. And we have some schools now contracting us. We might do one in Tsinghua University, affiliated high school. Tsinghua is supposed to be the MIT of China. They are failing the high school. They want us to run a camp for their students because their students, high school students, are not interested, are disengaged. They don't want to do this thing. So they want a different kind of education. I said, well, they came to see and they want to try it. I said, okay, we can give it a try.
How many students joined this program?
We had nearly 200.
200. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And then they self-organize and they organize with people. It's actually very interesting. And then we deal with the actual events. For example, some students ordered food besides cafeteria food. Some students did not, and that becomes a social issue. If you're eating in a dorm, so we had students discuss that. How does it affect? How does not? But you use AI to do the research.
Wow. Maybe we can organize another summer camp in Istanbul.
Oh, we'll be happy to come to do that. We can work with you in Istanbul. Would be fun to do. I think we can run this in Istanbul because the idea is that you cannot change every school, every student. We change what's possible. So that's why you see in my writing, we're using a model called a school within a school. We don't want to change 100%. We cannot change 100%. We make it available and accessible to those who are willing to do it.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm planning to, Istanbul version of this camp, and we will talk again.
Oh yeah, let's talk. We have a lot of experience. We've been running this for 8 years. In the first year, we had 5 countries,
Wow.
kids coming. That was all the children. They loved it. But remember, they have to live in different ways, and that's really amazing. People need to live in different ways, understand different styles, understand different cultures.
Exactly. Professor Zhao, in order to transform school climate into human interdependence paradigm, what is the role of school leadership or principles?
Well, I think it's significant. It's that if you want to, again, in the first, I wrote a book about this called Focused. All school leaders needs to have a focus. School leaders cannot and should not do everything because you hire teachers, you hired assistants to help you. And the second thing, I don't think schools should always to say, I want to change the entire school. That's our mistake in education reform. I'm sure, Ipak, you know this very well. Education reforms have generally failed because we want to change the entire school. We use one size fits all to replace another. So when you do reform, big changes, schools should always allow the existing, the historical, to be there. You want to change a small group of teachers, small group of students. So when you lead this change, you always want to invite students, invite teachers to make the change. We've been running experiments like this in the US, in China, in Australia for many years, actually. So you want school to change part of it. And every school has disengaged students. So you want to start with them and those who are not benefiting from the traditional education. And then the school leader would always try to back it up. Because if school leaders to say, oh, we just change for 1 year, it won't work. You won't change for 3, 4, 5 years. Then the culture shifts. And once the culture shifts for that part, it might move to other parts of the school. So school leaders are essential, to do this. I used to work in South Australia we used to have networks of private schools, network of government schools. So when they meet with me, they always have school principal, teachers, and students. We would meet for 2 or 3 days and design a plan, and they would go implement.
Wow. It's very, very nice, and it's very inspiring for us.
Thank you.
Professor Zhao, designing learning pathways around student strengths sounds inspiring but challenging. How can this be practically implemented in schools? What structural changes are needed for teachers and schools?
So you have, if you think about our traditional curriculum,
Yep.
the government or some adults have decided to say all students must learn this.
Yep.
That was based on past and the future. That was based on, okay, in the past, we've tried this. These are important, essential. We're also predicting in the future, all your jobs will need these skills. So we call readiness. But now, both have changed. What you know from the past is captured well by AI, and AI will become more powerful. And you cannot really predict the future. The future is uncertain. Nobody today in your government, in your school, can say, what I make you learn today will be valuable in 5 years. Nobody can guarantee that. Nobody. And so what you need, I think you need two parts of a curriculum. One is what I call the universals, that you as a citizen of Turkey, a citizen of Istanbul, a citizen of the globe, you need some basics, that everyone has to have the basics. And the basics can be basic literacy, basic global competence, basic math, but very little. So that may take about maybe 40% of your time. And then you have the other part is called the personalized. So you have two parts, and the two parts can connect with each other. You can call the first part surviving skills, the second part thriving skills. So the surviving, thriving, they can overlap, you know. But so when you do the personalized part, you can start something very simple in your school to say, okay, what if we have a strength profile for each student? For kindergarten, first grade. So you can just ask students, what are you good at? What would you like to do? And how would you get better in that? And then they can work with you. And they can, of course, always change their idea to say, oh, I don't think I'm good at that. I want to try something different. Go ahead. Because it's a learning, it's a developing process. But that is where, this is actually not new. You look at the Reggio kindergarten programs out of Italy is doing that. They negotiate with parents, with students every week. What would you like to learn? It's called emergent. So there's models of that. But I think we need to give up controlling students, and we need to have personalized assessment. But again, the universal part can continue like traditional, and the personalized needs to be redeveloped in collaboration with students, with parents, with local communities. Again, we've done this. We'll be happy to come to Turkey if you have schools interested in work on this. We've done this in different countries.
Yeah, we would be very happy to host you in Istanbul because we have different, school types, and we have so many resilient students, by the way, Professor Zhao.
Uh-huh. Oh, really? Okay.
These kind of, Chinese students, we are very similar, in terms of resilience. They're very strong and they're very hardworking, students. And we have so many similarities with Chinese students, by the way. But
Yeah.
I want to ask, you said personalized assessment.
Yes.
It's a bit, scary for teachers, personalized assessment. There are many students in a classroom. How can I personalize assessment, classroom management, teaching, and so on? Can you give some more clues about personalized, teaching and assessment?
Well, you look at EPAC in real life. After school, every assessment is personalized, right? You are doing the director of this. That's personalized. They hired you, not somebody else, right? That's very personalized. But in schools, we don't. Schools assessment always have to compare so people can compete, right? You are top 5%. You're number one. Then when you have number one, you must have number 10. When you have number 10, you have a number 100, 1,000. So it's not good. So personalized, you use AI to do it. In our work, students have major tasks, and they design the task, they design the problem, then AI can accumulate data. And so the assessment is about how you can get better, is not about how you are better or worse than others. So it's AI generates report every day, generates reports for the students, for parents, and for teachers. So you need to accept that idea. Again, the universal surviving skills, you can use whatever you want to assess, but with the new growth, because you are interested in doing different things. Like you're doing art. How do you assess art? You get an A in art. What does that mean? How do you cannot assess anyway, right? But I know at least for you as a student, you're getting better or you're getting worse. And which, the color, the pen, what materials you use, the thinking. So there's so many different dimensions. So AI is actually very powerful in doing that. AI is very, very good.
So it's not a danger for education system, right?
Well, I don't think so. But it might be a danger if you are conservative, right? If you want to say, if you believe education should be the way like in 1800, and that could be a danger. But societies change, right? I'm sure in Turkey as well in China, we still have schools that teaches the past.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. If you look again, religion is a good example. Religion has been split and have different diverse versions, but some kept old, some move forward. I think it's again, change is not for everyone, the same change. So that's why I'm always advocating change that makes sense to you, that you find valuable. It's not a change that imposed on everybody.
By the way, how can we build the ethics of, AI in education?
Well, you have to live with it. Live with it. Because I think in schools now, there is a big mistake in AI. People try to teach AI literacy, AI ethics to students. That's a wrong way of doing things because there's nobody who has come up with a group of ethics or morality or literacy that everybody agrees with. Nobody knows what it is. So what you need is we need students and teachers to use AI for real things. So I'm redefining learning. As I said, learning is not by doing. Learning is doing. Doing is learning. So you actually get engaged in that. Like our conversation today, I'm so happy we're doing this conversation, Ipek, is that, we're doing this, but we're both learning. I'm learning a lot from you. You're learning a lot from me. And I'm reshaping my ideas. That's how AI is. So you interact and you will learn what AI can do. You will never know, of course, exactly what AI can do, but you will know what AI cannot do. You will know how AI distorts, and you also know collaboration in front of AI will be different. So I think the AI ethics is developed through using. AI is a partner. AI is another cognitive layer. AI is a new environment for all of us. So we all live with it, and then our users can change AI too. So that's what I call this is a co-evolutionary process. You co-evolve with AI. And I hope your government will be smart enough not to say, let's add a course to teach AI literacy. And people are developing textbooks for AI literacy. That is a mistake. But many governments are doing that. Governments can do quite
Professor Zhao, can you repeat it? It's very important issue, I think.
well. I think in many governments are trying to teach AI literacy when nobody knows what AI literacy is. AI changes so fast. So I hope your government will not follow the bad mistake of many other countries. You do not need another AI course. You do not need an AI textbook, but you do need AI infused in students' learning, in teachers' teaching, and everybody's now, by the way, worried about cheating with AI. Teachers were, and well, I said, if you ask students in our summer camp, nobody cheated because you cannot cheat. In our traditional way, your homework can be, cheated. People use it to cheat because it's meaningless. Why can't teachers and schools have different requirements, have students to do different things with AI so they will not be able to cheat with AI?
By the way, do you think there should be a age limitation for AI usage?
I don't think there needs to be age limitation because a lot of AI companies already control uh, control the output. And also, like in our own AI tool, our YEE, so we build student protection in our own AI system, even though in the back we use large language models, like DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, but in the front you can build something. So your government could say, okay, let's build a front end so different age of students can use different languages. Like your 3-year-old want to find something, they might just do oral language. And then you may want to simplify the language. You don't want to be as complex as college. So there are different things you can adjust, but there's no reason to say, no, don't talk to this person and don't talk to AI.
In your paper, you highlight that more and more companies are dropping bachelor's degree requirements and focusing on skills-based hiring. In a world where formal degrees are no longer the main gatekeeper, what kinds of learning experiences and credentials will matter most? What role should schools and universities play in preparing students for this future?
Well, thank you. You know that we call this credential inflation. Credentials have inflated dramatically. But there's another problem. It's called credential um, outdated. If you had a degree 10 years ago in physics, that may not be even relevant today, right? I mean, if you had that. So the both of them shows whatever degree you had, PhD, master's, bachelor's, they really don't matter. Like in the US, not only Google, most of the high-tech companies, Ernest Young, they don't really use colleges or degrees or major to select employees. But two states, Massachusetts and Minnesota, their governors have signed laws to say, we will not use degrees to select state employees for government. For government, it's imagine that. That changes a lot. So what people are looking
Which
for,
states you say?
Massachusetts and
Massa-
Minnesota.
Wow.
Massachusetts is it's one of the best educated state in the country. That's where Harvard, MIT is, and
Yeah.
Minnesota. And so if you look today, when we hire people, we don't really ask where you come from. We say, what can you do? And I'll give you jobs, see if you can do it. It's real abilities. Or you can show me a portfolio of things you've done. Because that's how we do it. I mean, when you hire a researcher in your institute, I'm sure you want to say, what have you done? And how did it go? Can you show me a few papers you've written? And if I have this problem, how are you going to do research on it? Right? So and I think schools are still giving, oh, he gets A in math, in physics, but that really doesn't matter. We want to know. I have a good friend who really did not even finish college, but now he's making a lot of money, becoming the CIO of a technology company because he does computer programming very well. It's very, very well. It's very smart, very good. So anyway, I think the formal credentialing has had too much inflation to mean much.
Yeah, you're right. By the way, your conversation is going fantastic, and I'm very happy to ask you questions. But we have some, participants here, and I am sure they have some questions. Dear audience, you can ask your questions. Sorry for switch to Turkish. Arkadaşlar, sorusu olan varsa sorularını sorabilirler. Şeye de yazabilirsiniz. Chat box'a da yazabilirsiniz. Sorabilirsiniz. Sesinizi açabiliriz elinizi kaldırdığınızda. Sorry for Turkish, by the way. And yes, waiting for the questions. And yes, there is a question. Let me translate it. It's a very long question. Let me translate it for you. Wait a second. Yeah. Hülya Güven, right? She says some comments about Turkish education system. In Turkish education system, human peoples are taking like cultural heritage or cultural property and cultural identity. With the transition to the Republican regime in the early years, the aim was to raise individuals as guardians of the state's order and as Turkish nationalists, whereas today, alongside that, there is an expectation for them to be world citizens equipped with 21st century skills. So in the Chinese education system, how is the human being perceived or conceptualized?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. The final question is, so in the Chinese system, right?
How Chinese education system take to human,
Okay.
yeah.
I have the translation here. So it says, first of all, thank you for providing valuable information. My question is this: in Turkish education system, a person is mostly regarded as a cultural being. With the transition to the republic, at first, individuals were expected to be raised as guardians of the state order and as Turkish nationalists. Today, alongside that, they are more often expected to become world citizens with 21st century skills. So how is a person regarded or accepted in Chinese education system? Is that a good translation?
Yes, good.
Okay, I use ChatGPT. But anyway, thank you. Well, I think every country has different ideology. You want your people to become something. But no country can deny an individual person is a human being. So in China, we want the individuals to become great, but at the same time, the Chinese education system also wants you to be a builder of the socialist system. So that's so your goal is for the country, and I'm sure that's kind of quite close to the Turkish system. So different countries, different cultures have different expectations. Do you focus on the individuals who will form communities, or do you focus on the community who will form individuals? I think that's however, no matter what you want the individual to have capabilities, and that's why my model is called human interdependence. No matter what you focus on an individual, you still have to contribute to others. You focus on community, you still have to have individuals to contribute to the community. So I think fundamentally, education is not that different.
Yeah. If you have another question, dear audience, you can ask. I want to ask another question, by the way.
Okay.
In Turkey and China, parents are very competitive. You have tiger moms, we have WhatsApp moms. They are deadly, following their children's success individually, And how can we persuade parents about human interdependence paradigm?
Well, that's very difficult, even in the US, is that because like that's what I was talking about, in Turkey, I mean in America, in Australia, in England, any country, in China, any country you go, parents want their children to be successful. But that success comes in a long time, 10, 20 years. You don't know. So how do you make best judgment? You basically try to judge your children against the other children. To say, is my child doing better than others? So my advice to parents is always to say, don't compare your children. Look at how unique, how good your child or your children are. I think parents, if you keep looking at what's what your child is good at and interested in and create opportunities for that interest is very helpful. I have two children. I've always raised them this way. And they need to find their own passion and their own interest. And you provide the best support because you cannot, I just want to remind all parents, your past is gone. You cannot use your past to define your children's future because you really don't know the future. You don't even know what their life is like now.
Exactly. Yes, another question. There's all through the chip system uploading knowledge into brains could be alternative of current education. For example, 3,000 language words. Did you read, Professor?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's I'm not sure. I'm not a technology person. I think, but I think overall, the chips, the brain chips, whatever those things are, they can definitely develop your cognitive abilities. And AI tools have already surpassed human beings in cognitive abilities from more than it's doing better than 80% of the people already. So what human beings need is a humanity of people, of human beings, humanity. Like we talk about ethics, we talk about religion, we talk about social emotional, we talk a lot about joy, we talk a lot about community, we talk a lot about relationships. So it's a non-cognitive piece that we need to focus on.
It is very important because a recent MIT study shows that the AI have a bad impact on the cognitive process of people. What do you think
Yes.
about this study, by the way?
Oh, actually, I think that's a stupid study. I read that study. It's that was not only MIT. A lot of people from different countries participated in that. So first of all, their idea is that AI makes you lazy. Of course, it's supposed to make you lazy. Any technology should make us lazy, right? That's why we want to be lazy. So if you can be lazy, you go do something else. And then another thing is with the study, their big problem is that they say students don't remember the essays they wrote. But the essays are not what they want to write. Is assignments in psychology 101. It's professors giving you an essay. You don't want to write it. You of course use AI that you don't remember. That's a bad task. But if you want to write something, that might be different. And then the third one, I think a lot of people try to spread to say, we want to train our children to be thinking, of course, but think in what? That's our education. So I saw a question. What do you think the future holds for AI and education? That's actually precisely, can you discover in the age of AI what schools can do? Let AI do what AI does. I wrote a book many years ago called Never Send a Human to Do a Machine's Job. Never send a human to do a machine's job. I wrote that book from 10 years ago. And today, I think we're toward the end of this session. I hope everyone can remember that. Never send a human to do a machine's job. If machines can do something, avoid competing with a machine.
Yeah. By the way, there is another question about AIs, another the manipulation about the, AI. How can we trust that AI is not giving biased and manipulative information, especially to little kids? We know that even TV shows influence and shape public opinion, so there's no room for being cautious.
Well, thank you. You can't be sure. You can't be sure of anything, actually. No, so that's why human beings in the age of AI needs to develop critical thinking skills. You can't trust anything. I wouldn't trust anything like your TV news, your newspaper news, even news from people you think you believe. Every news today is probably half truth, whether it's from AI or not. So you need to make judgment. You need to develop that meta level skill to understand what AI is, what AI does. It's the same thing when you read a textbook, I mean, history textbook in Turkish school. Do you think you can completely believe it? Probably not, but that's the textbook you have. So it's the same thing even with math and science. Even in science, there's like, for example, climate change. Some people say yeah, some people say no, So where do you go? And people get into fight with that. So you need to develop that ability. And the earlier children are involved in that, the better. You ask them to question and then to verify. They need to learn how to verify information, how to make judgment.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
another.
good. How can 3-year-old have that? You can't. Even like 50-year-old does not necessarily have that. You develop that. I think our schools have not helping our children to do that. There's one word, one phrase I have not used called human in the loop. In the AI technology loop, you need adults involved in that. You talk with them. You ask them when they do some work with AI. You can ask more questions. I think questioning is very useful. Apparently, we don't have time for all the questions, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to coming to Turkey to talk to you more about this.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah, Professor Zhao, thank you so much. It's a wonderful, conversation with you. I learned so many things, and thank you so much. And do you want to add something for?
No, I think this is wonderful. I loved it, and I'm looking forward to more conversations. You are all very intelligent and smart people. I
Thank
love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I want to repeat your phrase again. Don't compare your children. Look what they good at. Look their uniqueness. And this is very important. And this is the thing I learned this, evening from you. Thank you so much, Professor Zhou. We will keep in touch, and I hope we can host you face to face in Enstitü Sosyal in Istanbul. And we learned from you, and we learned from your experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have
Have
a
a good
nice,
evening,
have a nice
everybody.
day.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah.